Sitting in a railway station, got a ticket for my destination. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound.
לציבור הנוסעים הרציפים, נא להתרחק משפת הרציף אל מעבר לפס הצהוב. תודה. תצא מרציף 4, הנכם מתבקשים להתרחק משפת הרציף.
So, what's really great about Israel, that everything that's simple becomes very complicated. Because it shouldn't be that complicated. This isn't like a big city. This isn't London, Paris, etc., etc. And yet, I don't understand why in this country, Tel Aviv is not mentioned as a destination, but all kinds of others. So you have to figure out directions. So if you know you're going southward or northward, then you are a little bit more able to find your destination. So I see big advertisement for Sapir. So this reminds me of a story. So I went to a job interview. I was stuck in a dead-end job, but really did. And one of the customers was a teacher, and I said, "Oh, I'm a teacher, except I didn't finish my teaching certificate, but I have a master's." You've got to have education to appreciate education, because otherwise I don't understand why I'm not a teacher, but it doesn't matter. So I went to an interview with this principal. She looks about 12 years old. So I asked her, "Where did you study?" So just not to be bragging, but I studied at top-notch universities. I am a graduate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. I graduated from Lesley University in Boston, USA. Not to mention yoga certificates. And this woman went to a teacher's college grade, I don't know, an insignificant little teacher's college where you get accepted for having a credit card or a heartbeat. And I got accepted to the best university, one of the top in the world, and yet this woman decides whether I'm going to be a teacher. So she does ageism. What does ageism mean? She sees me, and then she says, "Oh, we want to try you out." So I'm like, thinking, where did I fail? Maybe I didn't remember the name of the guy. His name was Jonathan, and I called him Ro'i. I don't know what it was. And I showed up with my dog, because why not? I was busy with the dog, so I showed up with the dog for a job interview. There's a shortage of thousands of teachers, and she's like, "Oh, I need a gym teacher." So I'm like, I'm the opposite of a gym teacher, but in a way I'm not. I'm a little bit overqualified to be a gym teacher. It doesn't matter. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a yoga teacher. I can do this. 50 shekels an hour." Now, just to give you proportions, for 50 shekels, you know who gets 50 shekels an hour? People who make a cup of coffee. So you get the same salary. She wanted to pay me the same salary as a person gets to make a coffee with zero education, to take care, to be responsible for the welfare of first graders in yoga. That is humiliating, and it's ageism, which is why they have a shortage of teachers. If you pay a teacher the same amount as a person gets to make a cup of coffee, you're not going to get a teacher. And I have a master's degree. Second point being, I just met a very nice Arab lady who finished dentistry. She's a dentist, and she started off working in the health, what do you call it? Dental health, National Dental Health, Kupat Cholim, and it's not worth it for her to work as a dentist, so now she's working as a bus driver, which I think is absurd. It's even more absurd than what I did before, working in a very insignificant job in a small store. So now I'm doing my drama classes It's going pretty well. Today I did Greek mythology. I decided to do whatever the hell I want. And the lady that gets me the jobs, like she sends me, to the schools, is really happy that I'm just independent. It started out when they gave me David and Goliath. I did not like the story, too violent. And then not enough female roles. And I'm trying very much to empower the children and not to give only boys the roles, It's not a religious school, it's a secular school. So now I did Greek mythology, and I also explained what is the difference between Greek mythology and Judaism and Christianity, many gods versus one God. The kids are so smart, so bright, but they have a problem with limits. And I have a problem with focusing when kids are jumping all over the place. But if you talk to them in a nice way, they'll listen to you. And that's all they need. And it went well, and I even got a compliment from the staff, which is very rare. Usually they, if you could say something nasty, they say the kids were bored. And I said, oh, they were so fascinated. The kids were indeed fascinated. I guess I'm good at what I'm doing. Always worried about being evaluated, because a lot of times I feel good, and then I think I'm doing a good job as a teacher, and then they'll fire me. An uneducated woman, 99.9% of the time, will fire me because she doesn't like the way I talk to the kids. Namely, I don't scream, I have a loud voice, I don't need to scream, I don't humiliate, I don't do power games. And I don't want to say my own praise, but it's a rare thing in Israel that a teacher doesn't raise her voice, doesn't humiliate kids. And it's very sad for me that I'm so rare, that they're used to people humiliating them. And that's why I had problems with my previous job, because I wouldn't yell at them, and they thought I was weak, as if screaming is a sign of strength. But that's what uneducated people do. Getting back to the principal who didn't hire me, I'm sorry, I'm a snob, but I was a really excellent student. I got accepted to every university in Israel. And I'll be damned if a person who studied in a small little community college, where you just get in because you breathe, will look down at me for being older than her, having more experience. And why does a young person get to even make decisions? And why does Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu or Putin, whatever leader you want in the world, how come you can be a leader of a country at over 70, but even if you're over 50, you can't be a teacher when you have so much experience, you have your own kids, you're at the best years, and during your best years, people tell you you're not good enough because you're too old for them. I don't have maternity leave because I've already had my babies. I don't have boyfriend problems because I'm mature and my focus is on the right things. I no longer have drama in my life, and yet they prefer to hire young people. So sad, so tragic that the education of young children is at the hands of incompetent, unexperienced, young people who graduate from the worst places that just... I can't study at a teacher's college. I tried. There's just such a low level of study. They don't expect you to think critically. They don't have professors that are inspiring. It's just so boring. I almost finished it and then I didn't, because I don't think I could have lasted it. The Board of Education is so uninspiring, and it hires people with such a low level of IQ and thinking styles. And the kids are so much smarter than the teachers. And this is why they have problems, because they can't lead them and teach them how to think if they themselves don't know how to think in a critical way. Or, it's very sad. And intelligent people just run away from education, which is the most important field of any society. So that's all I have to say. The train is pretty slow. Tel Aviv University Station is a joke because when you get off, you have to go walk a lot, and it's pretty far from the university. I look at Tel Aviv, some critical thinking. I really can't stand the Emerald City or whatever. The emerald is the money or the dollar sign. Ugly, tall buildings in gray. Architecture is very uninspiring. I love Herzliya. Herzliya is so much nicer. They also have tall buildings, but it's green and you can raise kids there. Tel Aviv, in my opinion, is a very stressed out, loud, chaotic city. The people aren't friendly. I'm not happy with my neighbors, but I'm too lazy to move and I don't have a car. And as you can see, public transportation is like a snail. I've never been on a slower train in my life. It's like, maybe I could walk. I could have walked fast. It's not that I'm being mean. I'm just being realistic and reflecting what life is like in Israel and why a lot of people have cars. And I used to work for a non-profit teaching kids about environment, and sadly I felt very mixed feelings because the people that wrote the programs drove cars, and the number one contributing factor to global warming is private cars emitting CO2. So it's so sad because like in other countries, people that are green and promote environment bike, they don't use a car or use electrical cars. So that's the way. That's all I have to say today. I quit. It's also very low pay. It was low paying. And I like creativity. And they had the same program for 4 years. 4 years. Can you imagine people going from one school to another, doing the same program for 4 years? I'd go crazy. I change stories every week. So this week I'm going to do the Greek mythology. I feel like I've traveled for miles and miles and miles, and not just next door, where the car it's like 15 minutes. So this is the reason why Israel has so many private cars, so much pollution, so many car accidents. And I'm very skeptical that the train system they're building now will be good for many, many reasons, which I will not list now. See, this doesn't make me happy to see these gray buildings. It's so ugly. I don't know who decides which architecture was hired to build these buildings. They're the ugliest thing I've ever seen. But they do remind me of the Bible, the Tower of Babylon. Say something positive. I'm really glad to go home. And I'm really glad I live in Tel Aviv, so I don't have to take a bus or train everywhere. Except when I go to this, I have 2 days in Herzliya. And why am I glad to live in Tel Aviv? So I can walk everywhere, really. I can really walk everywhere. And I'm glad they didn't hire me to teach for 50 shekels an hour. That's all I have to say.